Shalom, Yasharala. This your brother Dawada, coming back at you with this here truth again. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Bahashim, Rachach Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone that taught us this truth and that well. And salutation and much love for you, Akim, pushing this truth and sincerity over the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. So I want to jump into this here lesson. It's going to be a little bit different than, what we do in our everyday, watching and learning and things. But this here lesson is based off of that, because, sometimes you have people that will ask about, or just in your normal everyday conversation and things. Hey, did you see this is going on? That's popping off and things like that. People, they'll ask about these types of things, especially people with so-called quote unquote Christian backgrounds about, just at least on a surface level. All right. And dealing with these things, these are the same people that I love to say, well, how do you know the world's about to end? Nobody knows the day or the time. Nobody knows these things. And all these different narratives that they push out. But nevertheless, we understand these things. Let me read the scripture first. It says, 2 Ezra 9:1. He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself. And when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, then thou shalt understand it is the very same time when the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. All right. And so this is one of the main key parts that these people don't, seem to grip. All right. They think that we're just doom and gloom. You can't live your life like that. If you just live your life, they'll respond, oh, I can't live my life looking at all this negativity going on and I'll just be depressed and everything else like that. And it's like, you know what? See, this is surface level of things because you don't have a full understanding of, the scriptures and mainly prophecy. All right. Just like it says here, measure the time diligently in itself. And when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I told thee before, all right, to prophesy to say before. These are the things that was told to us beforehand. All right, the signs to look out for. All right, so nevertheless, let me grab a quick precept. Where is it at? I'm not sure exactly. So I can give me a second. All right, here we go. Matthew 24 and verse 32. It says, now learn the parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender, he putteth forth leaves. Ye know that summer is nigh. So likewise, ye, when you shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the door. All right, let me jump down to verse 36. All right, well, I should have probably read this first, but let me jump down to verse 36. But of that day and hour knoweth no man, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. So this is one of the main things that they base their ideology off of. Is like, no man knows the day or the hour. No man knows the day or the hour. And I'm like, do you even understand what you're saying? No man knows the day or the hour. Doesn't mean, so when you just, what I just read, starting at verse 32, learn the parable of the fig tree. Why is this even written in the scriptures? You have to ask yourself, like, there are no spare words that's in the scriptures at all. There's nothing in the scriptures that's just there just to be there. So everything has a meaning. So why is it written, for one? And why did Yahweh say this, for one? Second of all, why was it recorded in the scriptures? All right, it was recorded for a certain reason. All right, so now when you go to the beginning of the chapter, like verse, let me just read it. Verse 3, it says, and as he sat on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming in the end of the world? So this is the whole subject matter, right? Yahweh was giving them all these different signs and everything, right? So people, like I said, their ideology is no man knows the day or the hour. And when you go to John 3:18, I believe it is. They don't want to come to the light because their deeds are evil, for one. This is the background premise of all these things. So they say, how they say in the world, out of mind, out of sight, or out of sight, out of mind. All right, so they'll say these things so they can continue on in their darkness and their evil and things like that. But if they was to sit there and think about what is really being told unto them, no man knows the day or the hour. But in the same chapter where it says that, it gives you all these signs. All right, and it says, let me read it again, Matthew 24 and 32. Now learn the parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender, he putteth forth leaves. You know that summer is nigh. So it didn't tell you the day or the hour that summer started. It's telling you the signs to look for, that that summer is pretty much around the corner. Is about to come to pass. So the same way that you can tell based off of these signs that summer is close by. All right, you're not gonna know the exact day or the hour where summer started. At this day, at this hour, 1:45 p.m. in the afternoon, summer just started. No, it's giving you the signs. All right, well, we're coming into the summer seasons and things like that. Just like, I always give this analogy of a woman about to have a baby. A doctor can tell her, oh, well, 9 months from down the road from here, you should be expecting around this here time. That's why I have the term expecting. All right. But they can't tell you, the exact day. All right, your baby going to be born on this particular day, which they tell people things like that. But, how many people are actually born on the exact day that their parents was told that they was going to be born on? All right. I know for my scenario, I was damn near born a half a month earlier than when they was predicting, but nevertheless, they can't also tell you the exact hour that the baby's going to be fully, out of labor and everything like that, because labor sometimes take multiple hours and things like that, but nevertheless, looking at this, it says no man knoweth the day or the hour. All right, but we have the signs to be able to tell us about these things. So going back to 2 Ezra 9, let me go back over there. It says he answered, 2 Ezra 9:1, it says, he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs past, which I told thee before. All right, so we could just go ahead and reinsert what we just read in Matthew 24. Hey, that summer is not. It's right around the corner. All right, so we could say the same thing here, right? So when people say, oh, we can't just sit here and live our lives watching the doom and gloom on the news all day and living like that, and, we can't just be focused on this quote unquote negativity. But like, well, that's how you take it. All right. It's so-called negativity and living in so-called doom and gloom. But hey, if you're in the right spirit, these are things that you rejoice about. These are things that uplifts your spirit, because why? You know that salvation is nigh. All right. You know that you're about to get up out of here. And only righteous people, all right, are abhorred by the things that they see and hear going on around them. All right, just like, what is that? Ezekiel 9:4 says, set a mark upon the men that sigh and cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. Meaning you're not comfortable in this here place, man. You see the things that was going on, like a lot who was vexed with the filthy conversation of the damn people around him, man. All right, but you have these people, again, you have this scenario. Why do we have to be watching this? Why do we have to stay on top of that? They have that, they have, they've, not to say remixed, but they've taken this term, a thief in the night, they just run with it. There's a song like that where it's some like a thief in the night, whatever. They have a song like that where, it's pretty much in mainstream, popular vernacular right about now. But nevertheless, people don't really understand those words. Like, yo, when the Lord is going to come as a thief in the night, meaning he's going to catch your ass unaware, right? Now, let me go back. Well, here we go. Let me start at verse 42. Matthew 24:42. It says, watch therefore. That is the main, most important part right there. Watch therefore. All right. And what are we watching? All right. We're watching for the signs. How the hell do you know if the signs are coming to pass if you're not seeing what's going on around in the world right about now, man? All right. So let's just say if you were a person, living here in Babylon, which is kind of hard for you to, we'll say you living on a remote island in the middle of nowhere, right? You don't have no internet, no nothing, and everything else like that, right? So you don't know about the pandemic that's going on around. You don't know about, the things they're implementing and all these different things. You don't know about the prophecies or anything like, oh, hell, let's say you do know about the prophecies. 100% of the prophecies and when the Lord coming back and how to measure the time diligently, but you're not watching things, all right? You don't know the news and what's going on. Hey, they implementing these mandates worldwide, and they're setting this here up and they're doing that, and all these different things is going on. But the prophecies, man. All right, just like, a lot of these people with these quote unquote Christian backgrounds, they lean onto the assumption is like, well, they say in the last days we're gonna hear the final trump and the trumpets being blown, and yet they think they're gonna hear a audible sound out of the sky, like loud ass trumpet being boom. Like, no, man. The men of the Lord are on the highways and the byways blowing their trumpets day in and day out, warning you about these things. We go into the articles, we showcase videos, and we filter it through the scriptures. All right. So when people, it's kind of like a hypocritical statement. Why would I want to be sitting here watching the news and everything else like that? I'm gonna know when the Lord is about to come because the trumpet gonna be blown. Well, if you have earplugs in to where you can't hear a goddamn sound, all right, how are you gonna know that somebody's actually blowing an audible trumpet if you can't hear it? All right, because you're tuned out to what's really going on around you. You're blocking these things out. All right. So nevertheless, going into this here ideology of, oh, it's all doom and gloom. Like, hey, man, first of all, we're already in hell and catching hell and in captivity and things like that. So you can't escape that. That's just whether you watch TV, don't watch TV, or like the news and things like that, you're still going to be feeling these here curses. But nevertheless, we can measure the times diligently based off of the things that's going on around us. So let me continue on. It says, watch ye therefore, for ye know not what hour your Lord doth cometh. And again, like I said, they like to base themselves on nobody knows. No, it says no man knows the exact hour. Nobody can say, all right, Yahushua gonna return, on Thursday, July 31st, 2027 at 1:47 p.m. Nobody can say that. But nevertheless, we have this whole chapter about the signs and watching. And what are we watching? The prophecy. So let me continue reading. All right, because going into that thief in the night, it says, but know this, that if the good man of the house had known and what watch the thief would come, he would have watched and would not have suffered his house to be broken up. All right. Therefore, be ye also ready, for in such an hour as you think not the Son of Man cometh. All right. So going back into this, the thief in the night scenario, if you knew what time the robber was going to come to rob your house, you would just be waiting up for him, probably with the shotgun at the door. Yep, I knew he right on time. It's 2:45 in the a.m. Yep, he right on time, and now I can just blast your ass. But it's when your guards are down that these things come in and sweep you unaware, and you get caught like a thief in the night. Now, again, if you're not, you can attribute this to maybe you have a home security system, video, or you live in a building where they have security and they're supposed to be watching how you always see in the action movies, the guard is supposed to be watching the surveillance tapes, but then they happen to fall asleep, and then that's when the criminals come in because what? They wasn't watching. All right, so this is just like us watching the security cameras and watching, the news and these different stories about things that's going on, man. All right, because we can see how these things, also, well, it's in the same chapter, verse 23, all right. Well, let me start 21. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no nor shall ever be. And except those days be shortened, there should be no flesh saved, but for the elect's sake, those days should be shortened. So, touching on this a little bit, things are going to wax worse and worse and worse and worse, right? And it's going to get to a point to where things are going to be so bad that we're not going to be able to go on forever like this, because the fabric of society and everything is just going to come to a collapsing point, right? But again, if you're not watching of these things, how do you know that these things are really getting to that point? You have some people that are just completely block out these things, like, oh, I didn't know this was going on. Like, for instance, to give you an example, happily married people, right, don't know what the struggle is like for like younger folks that's out here in the so-called quote unquote dating world, trying to date and everything else like that. Older people don't really know what it's like to try to talk to folks on social media and things, because they're not in the same boat. People with jobs don't know what it's really like. If you're employed, you've been employed for a while at a certain job, you don't really know what it's like, the struggle, or what it's like for people who is unemployed and looking for work, because you're not in that same boat. So you're not really watching of these things, man. All right. So at the same time, when, again, we're supposed to be watching of these things, hastening the day of the Lord, you have some people that have these quote unquote blinders up to the point to, well, I don't want to watch these things. Again, how are you going to know when the Lord is coming, man? And we have people that's out here blowing a trumpet. No, this is what's popping off. The Lord's about to come. We at the end of the world. Their rebuttal is, nah, well, we ain't got these things popping off, or you guys just think doom and gloom. But these same people are not watching. They're not measuring the times diligently. They don't have any perception of what's really, really going on around in the world, right? Let's go back and finish this off real quick. 2 Ezra 9:1, it says, he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs past, which I told thee before, then thou shalt understand it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. So, like in reading comprehension, in school you were taught how to think a certain type of way, right? Or they were teaching you how to learn a certain type of way. So they may give you a reading comprehension, like, all right, so Bill gets off the bus, who's left on the bus, right? You're like, well, if it was only Bill and Jill on the bus and Bill got off the bus, obviously, you just turned around the scenario, because you said that Bill got off the bus, right? You didn't say that Jill stayed on the bus, right? But if it was only two people on the bus and one of them got off, the other one's still on, then you understand these things, But nevertheless, again, if you're oblivious to these things, you can't take the context clues. So if we can understand what this question is saying, it's like, yo, measuring the time diligently, then you're going to be able to understand these things. But if you're not watching these things, you can't read the context clues. So the context clues is telling us here, it's like, yo, man, we have not to say signs, we have something, a measuring stick to be able to measure how far we're up and down the path. All right. And the measuring stick would be what? The prophecies. How do you know that the prophecies came to take place if you're not even watching anything? All right. If you're not connected or tapped into these things, man, like I said, people that are happily married don't know what the hell it's like trying to date in this modern day world because they're not checking for those types of things, you know? So if you're not watching for, you know, the Lord to come, all right, you're not checking it, how you say, the news, the prophecies, things that's actually popping off. So you wouldn't know about these things. Therefore, you'd be caught like a thief in the night. This is the importance of watching of these things, man. All right, verse 3, it says, therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world. Right now, this is one of the ones where it's a great example to use, you know. Here in America, you have, certain little protests or whatever going on here and there about certain things. But again, if you're a person that doesn't watch the news, don't know about things going on around the world, you would just think maybe, oh, they just have a protest down the block because of whatever is going on, right? But you wouldn't know about the uprisings in Puerto Rico. You wouldn't know about the uprisings in South Africa or, you know, in all these different places, all across Europe and everything else like that, because why? You're not tapped into it. So people would attribute this, even though they're listening for an audible sound, right? We just going to go into what it actually is. The people, you know, seeing the prophecies, like you measuring the times based off these prophecies, they wouldn't even know that there was uproars of the people around the whole world all at once in an unprecedented, biblical size of proportion. They wouldn't know these things because they're not checking for these things, man. This is the importance of watching and you know, keeping your ears, quote unquote, to the streets of what's really going on, man. All right, hearing how, you know, because I know over the last couple of days, you know, doing these videos about, you know, the MOTB and the updates on those things like that coming out, man. Hey, people don't really know about these things. Oh, they doing mandates. Oh, they got these things coming back down. Oh, they saying people can't do this and that. I didn't know it was like that. Because why? They weren't watching, so they don't even know how close they are to the end themselves, man. All right. Actually, let me just go from there. I didn't want to make this too long. I got quite a few precepts I want to get, so I'm gonna just try to touch on some of these. First Thessalonians 5:1. But of the times and the seasons, all right. What are we talking about? The times and the seasons. Where we at? All right. Again, measuring. You know, you have a race. You know, a drag race. You know, you have a starting line. You have a finish line. How do you know how far you are down a damn a drag strip? All right, because you're measuring the times and the seasons, right? It says, but of the times and the seasons, brethren, you have no need that I write unto you. Why? Why are these people have no need that they write unto them? Because these are the brothers that's in the faith. All right, not just quote unquote fleshly brothers like, oh, we all of Israel or anything like that, but nevertheless the ones that's, you know, how do I say, just keeping the faith, more or less to say. All right, you're basically looking at the scenario of the fact of, look, we watching the prophecies, man. That's why there's no need, because why? You're sober in the sense of, you know, because, and people like to use this example as well too, talking about you can't drink, you're supposed to be sober, and the scriptures like, well, no, this is talking about being sober minded, right? Just like, you know, the example that they're using is like when you're drunk, you make bad decisions, right? You're not very coherent of the things that's going on around you. That's why I tell you not to drink and drive, because you may have mismeasured how far that stop sign was or how fast you were going, or you stand in the lines here and there because you can't make a good decision based off of the thing. You're so distracted by other things. So in this sense of being sober, all right, the fact of the matter is like, look, if you're if you're constantly distracted by external things and not the things that are pertaining to the truth, as far as either news, things that's popping off, you know, all these different types of things like that, you know, you're gonna make a bad judgment call, more or less to say. All right, so if constantly, you know, you don't watch the news at all or anything like that, you're not watching for these signs and things that's passing by, right? And all of a sudden, you know, what you spend most of your time doing is watching soap operas and things like that. You know, when what the next thing you know, you're gonna wake up and there's these different mandates everywhere, or these things are shut down. You're like, well, damn, when did this happen? When did that happen? How did these things get like that? Well, you was drunk, bro. You know, you wasn't sober enough to see what was really going on, man. You know, you can give a billion different examples of how, you know, because somebody was drunk. You see him at the party. Somebody was drunk, got too drunk, passed out. Now somebody running through their pockets and taking everything. Well, if you wasn't drunk, you would have been aware of your surroundings. You would have known that these people was over here doing X, Y, and Z to you. But because you was so inebriated, so distracted by the things going on, you didn't even see what was coming. So the same thing here. All right. Verse 2, for yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. So again, just like, and I give this example sometimes about cops and DUI, right? Or people drinking and driving. I'm like, a lot of the time, and I've never been a cop, nothing like that. But I'm just speaking of, this is my opinion, right? That cops don't really look for drunk drivers, right? The drunk drivers seem to stick out. Just as far as just driving around a lot of times at night, especially around places where, there's bars and downtown areas and things like that, and clubs, you see it all the time. You see people driving down the road with no headlights on. You see people driving down the road swerving. So guess what? They stick out like a sore thumb. All right. But if they were sober, they would be able to see, like, bro, I ain't got no headlights on. All right, bro, I'm swerving all over the road. They would be able to see all these things. But because their mind is so clouded by all these other things, they can't even tell you what's going on around them. All right. Just like the cop being sober, he's just looking around like, this motherfucker don't even know he ain't got no lights on. Right. But it's clear as day to somebody that's sitting there watching. Same with these things, man. This is how we're not getting caught unaware. Oh, we didn't know that, like the scripture say, never trust our enemy. We know because we sober, like, yo, this dude ain't got no good business with us, or this is his track record of what he's been doing, or we've been watching the news and they say, hey, look, this is going to protect you. Now, all of a sudden, it can't protect you. Oh, you should do this. Oh, well, that don't even make sense for you to be doing this. We're sober enough to see that this dude is not making a great informed decisions, but yet the drunk, they still out there believing on these people. They're like, well, they know better. They believe in the science. Like, they don't got no science behind this. If they did, they wouldn't be wrong every other day. And they're wrong every other day based off of their own admission. Well, we were wrong about this. Well, we thought this. We thought if we gave y'all this, y'all wouldn't catch this, and so on and so forth. But hey, when you drunk, you start believing in any and everything. And what I mean by drunk versus and sober-minded, all right? Let me jump down to verse 4. It says, but ye brethren are not in darkness, that the day should overtake you as a thief. Why? Because we are, ears to the streets, constantly watching, all right? And how do I say, getting updates on the different news and things like, like when brothers will send like, articles and videos about, hey, y'all just see this popped off, y'all just see that and everything else like that. If we was to be sending that to normal people, they would be looking at us like we crazy. Like, why would you send me this? Why would you send me that? What's the importance of this? Or they'd think you crazy. But it's like, we already know without even speaking on these things. No, I'm over here warning you, like, yo, this is the new shit that just popped off, man. It's like, again, we all been drinking and driving, coming from the club and shit like that. And I done left before y'all done left. And then I see the police on the side of the road, or they got a DUI checkpoint. Hey, I'm about to go text the people, hey, don't come down this here road. There's danger down here. You have somebody to forewarn you because you see what's going on around you. But hey, if the blind leading the blind, they're going to both fall in the hole, right? Verse 5, ye are all children of the light and the children of the day. We're not of the night nor of the darkness. Let us not sleep as do others, but let us watch and be sober. And again, this isn't talking literal, because obviously just naturally you're going to have to, you try staying up for as long as you can. Your ass is going to go to sleep when you get exhausted. But nevertheless, the point of us not being asleep, they have the term being woke. Being woke to what? Your surroundings, your environments, the things that's going on, the laws that's being changed, the updates and the things that's coming out. And how would you get all this information if it wasn't for the fact that you were what? Watching. All right. Not only are you watching, you're being sober about it, because, some people will sit there and watch, and it's just like telling somebody that's being drunk, hey, man, the police over there, you don't want to go over there, and they start laughing and giggling and everything else like that. But nevertheless, they're not really being sober about it. But hey, give me 1 second. All right, Salakia. But going back into these things, man, like I said, man, you'd be sober to your surroundings. You're watching the news. Not only that, because like I said, some people will be drunk and you tell them everything, like, hey, bro, like you see it all the time in the bar. Somebody drunk talking shit to somebody, maybe talking to somebody, old lady, but hey, man, I see you drunk, bro. This is my old lady. Stop talking to my old lady. Stop being rude, or stop doing this, or watch yourself. This and that. Now the drunk dude, he see what's going on, but his mind can't keep up to comprehend what's really popping. So then what? He just, overstep the next boundary. Next thing you know, he getting tossed out the bar, the club, get into a fight because why? You made the bad judgment. All right, because you wasn't sober. Now that was an actual literal being drunk versus sober, but just use that as the analogy, bro. Like, yo, like, what I mean, you wasn't sober minded, so you just taking things for granted. You seeing these things on the news. Oh yeah, they saying that, but it ain't gonna affect me. Like, you know how many people saying that? Oh, they can't make me force me to wear this or force me to put this in on my body. I'm like, all right, They're making this mandated for everybody. If it was just that easy, we know they have an agenda to push. And if it was just that easy to stop their agenda just by saying, nah, y'all ain't doing this to me, what kind of fucking standing would they have? Right? They wouldn't have no standing. But the fact of the matter is, we never trust our enemy. We know who our enemy is. We know the lengths that he's willing to go, man. All right? This is why we cleave unto the Lord, because, hey, man, it's the only way we're going to have salvation, man. All right? Verse 7, for they that sleep, sleep in the night, and they that be drunken are drunken in the night. Let us who are of the day be sober, putting on the breastplate of faith and love, and for a helmet, the hope of salvation. All right. So, we have to be a little different as far as watching these things. So this is going into the importance of, why we watch these things. And maybe people might just be like, why y'all always keep going the same thing? Why y'all always looking at the news? Why y'all always Hey, because look, at the end of the day, we're not going to be caught like a thief in the night, man. At the end of the day, we seen all these signs of everything coming and everything like that. We prepared ourselves, just like the scriptures say, arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest. This place is polluted, or destroy you. We took heed to that. We were sober to that fact, that mindset beforehand. So while everything was all calm, peaceful, and everything was all good, right, we wound up removing ourselves from this here place mentally and spiritually and everything else like that. We removed ourselves. So then when they started having the shutdowns and everything else like that, we wasn't like the rest of these people that was cracking and getting divorces, domestic violent rates, skyrocketing, all these different things, because why? They were so attached to these things. And when we was telling them like, yo, bro, this is all about to come to an end, and they didn't want to believe, they made a drunk decision. Nah, we're going to ride it out like this forever. Y'all just living in doom and gloom. But then when these things came to pass, who was really affected by them? We got turned up in the spirit. We were rejoicing. They're all depressed and committing suicide and, double, triple dosing on drugs and everything else like that, man. So you have to understand the importance of watching these things. It's not just the fact that it's doom and gloom and all these bad things going on. That's not why we watch these things, man. All right. And not only, there's other types of videos and things to be watched, but hey, it's like, hey, the Lord's putting out that judgment. Hey, this is what's going on, man. All right. Or in chariots. Those are faith booster videos. Whenever we see things like that, why are you showing me a video of UFOs and this now? Y'all, no. This is a faith booster for us, because that's the way we're going to be delivered through those things. Then we can see these things. We can see the signs coming to pass. We can see all the things, hey, man, in the carnal sense, man. We, the men of the Lord will impart that number that's in this here truth in the faith, right? We, quote unquote, don't have faith in the Lord no more, in the sense of we have to so-called believe that the Lord exists. And we have to believe that the Lord is going to do something for us, because why? We know, we see it. You know what I'm saying? There was a point in time, where, even going further back in time where you didn't have all these chariot sightings and everything like that. Oh, you have to just believe on that. I ain't never seen a UFO a day in my life, but I believe that the Lord, this is what the scriptures is talking about. I believe the Lord is going to come back in a UFO. That was when you had to have the quote unquote faith to believe in the things you can't see. But now look, we can see them now. There's no excuse for that, man. All right. Beforehand, we had to believe that we was just right when it came to the 1316 plan. All right. We had to just believe off of that at first, but now we seen it being implemented. There should be no question about that, man. If you don't believe, fuck believing. If you don't acknowledge that that's what that is, you're just delusional. We're not asking you to believe that that's what it is. We're telling you to just sober-mindedly look at this and you judge for yourself, right? It's just like saying, hey, look, here's a fire right here. Put your hand to the fire and see if it burns you or not. Yeah, it burns you, right? Now, I'm going to ask you this here question. Do you believe that fire is hot? And do you believe that it will burn you? Right? Now, at that point in time, I don't have to ask you to believe, oh, I believe that fire going to burn me, because you just experienced it. You just seen that the fire actually burnt you. So if you say, no, I don't believe that the fire going to burn me, you're delusional. If you respond, oh, I believe that the fire will burn me, you're still delusional, because you know for a fact at this point in time that, hey, man, I just got burnt, my skin coming all off. I know that shit's going to burn my ass, man. All right. So, hey, looking at these things, like I said, we're not going to get caught like a thief in the night, because look, not only are we measuring the times diligently, we're watching, we're seeing all these things coming to pass. So it's just like, yo, man, hey, like we know that the Lord exists. We know that the Lord is working in our times right now, doing these miracles in our times right now. The fact that we woke up to who we were when we were in a dead state and seeing where we were before to now, that's a big major thing to be watching. All right. To see how many how the truth is flourishing throughout the earth. It was beforehand where you ask people about the Israelites. They don't know about this and that. They don't know about that. People walk by calls Muslims and don't know about these things. Now it's to the point where they come by, oh, y'all the Hebrew Israelites. We know y'all. Shalom. Hey, man, we even had an example of us being in the damn grocery store, myself and a couple brothers, at the camp, we was going back to another brother's house to fellowship, and we stopped by the grocery store to go pick up a couple things. And, we're not in our garments or nothing like that, man. We in a Clark Kent mode, right? Now, we walk inside the store, you know what I'm saying? And, we were very joyous around each other. So, first of all, people see that on our spirit to begin with. We all very joyous around each other. Our spirits are uplifted, especially when we're around one another. But nevertheless, we were in line, and there was a Jake there in line, young Jake Mill, and he was like, what's going on, King or Kings? And then I kind of smirked and laughed, and I was talking to another brother, but he didn't immediately hear what I was saying. I was like, hey, he don't even know what he's talking about. Like, y'all just look like some kings. And I was like, and I repeated what I said to the brother, and the brother wound up saying in Hebrew, Malachium or Malak, which is like king or kings, right? and the other Jake was just like, oh shit, y'all Hebrew Israelites. So there was a point in time, right, where people called us Muslim, didn't know what the hell we were doing. They see us with a beard and everything, they just think we're Muslim. But now we're living in a time where people can just see our spirit and just understand certain things like that and know exactly who we are. And not only that, they even knew what camp we was from. Not even then, I don't even believe that this guy actually watched our channel to know which camp we was from, but just being able to discern in the spirit where we would come from and just how we carry ourselves and things like that, man. So again, measuring the times diligently by watching. All right, being in this truth, depending on how long you were in the truth, you can see the demeanor of people and them knowing and not knowing who you were to the point where we don't have to sit here and have to go through the debates and tell you about, all these different foundational things and stuff. Most people know about these things now, man. All right, now we're getting into the deeper subjects. But again, measuring those times diligently, we could go back and be like, yo, in the beginning it was like this. Now it's like that. So now, we on to the point to where, like the scriptures say, hey, the prophecies are starting to speak for themselves. All right. Let me just grab one more. We'll close out. What was that? I had a precept. Okay, I know. Let me come back to this. Let me get this precept that came into mind. Matthew 24:8. Or it's like 14, I think it is. Yep. Matthew 24, verse 14, it says, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then the end shall come. So again, here's a measuring stick of, hey, all right, so once we know that the gospel has been preached throughout the four corners of the earth, all right, that's one catalyst is going to tell us that the end is about to come, right? How are we going to know that the gospel is being preached throughout the whole four corners of the earth if we're not, quote unquote, checking the temperature? All right, if you're not watching, like you can just go on YouTube and see how many different videos are out or recommended videos or talking to regular people in the world and they be like, oh, y'all, are y'all Hebrew Israelites? Or they come by like, y'all the Hebrew Israelites, or they just roll by the camp or just say, Shalom. They say all kind of different things like that. That's you measuring the time diligently, you being sober and like, all right, so shit. We in the grocery store, we ain't got our garments on or anything like that. Nothing to, in Clark Kent mode, nothing to show, we're not walking around with fringes on or anything like that in public. So the fact of the matter that they can, non quote unquote teachers or people that are pretty much students can just sit there and be like, oh shit. Now we know that this gospel is in pretty much throughout the four corners of the earth. When you have people from different countries that don't even look like you, that's over here preaching in the names, all right, and preaching basically the same doctrines. Hey man, this is going around four corners of the earth, man. These movements, when you start seeing these different vibrations being lifted up, like now you have this vibration of men's growing out their beards, men not wanting to, have these lower standards anymore, wanting higher standards with not just the women or the abominations going around. Hey man, when you got the alphabet community complaining about the alphabet community, we know we at the end of this shit, man. All right. Again, by measuring time diligently, by looking at the things that's going on around us, man. All right. And just seeing how things are just being decaying and decaying and decaying and decaying. All right. So let me go back to this 1 Peter 4. First Peter 4:7, it says, but the end of all things is at hand. Be ye therefore sober, watch unto prayer. All right. And above all, pretty much verse 7, it says, but the end of all things is at hand. All right. So these things are already taking place right now. How would you know? If you're not, watching, yeah, it's like boiling goddamn eggs. all right, or boiling anything on the damn stove, right? You set the pot on the stove, regular room temperature water, and you turn it on. All right, how you know the damn pot is boiling if you're not going back to check the damn pot to see if it's boiling or not, man? All right, you have to put the water on the stove, turn the stove on, and periodically come and check to see if the damn pot is boiling. Because if not, you know what I'm saying, the pot will be done started boiling, all the water be done boiled out, you be done burned the bottom of the pan with nothing in there, and be done missed your opportunity to cook eggs. Then you got to start the whole process all over again. All right, or you could be done put the pot on the stove, and you know something could have happened. You forgot to turn the damn pot on, and you ain't watching. You know, all of a sudden you come back. You know what I'm saying? 2 hours later, and the water just still sitting stagnant. Oh fuck! Maybe I should have been watching and checking on the damn water the whole damn time, man. All right, I remember something of that sort happened to me the other day where I forgot what it was I was doing, but nevertheless, the principles are the same. You know, I didn't double check to make sure that whatever I was doing, I don't know, I was sending something or something like that. I didn't double check to make sure it went through. And lo and behold, I went to go check back to see if the situation was done. And I'm like, damn. And then when I went back, like, you know what, I should have double checked. You know what I'm saying? It would have saved me this here a little bit of time that I just wasted here. But hey, that's the how I say the problem with you not quote unquote checking, you not being sober and double checking, triple checking, and everything else like that. So it's important for you to watch. It's important for you to be sober. It's important for you to keep up to date with the things that's going on around you, man. All right, it's not about doom and gloom and just, oh, I hate this, I hate that. No, you're basically checking the temperature of the water, man. All right, seeing how far off or down the road we are with these things. But nevertheless, Lord willing, you know, the point was made and the elect was edified with this here lesson. Until next time, I say, Call halal, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah. Bahashim, Rakakodash. Double honor to the apostles and the elders, a great millstone that taught us his truth and never will. And salutation, much love for you, Akim, pushing his truth and sincerity over the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. Until next time, I say, stay strong. Shalom.